Hi everyone, this is Tisha Morris. Thank you so much for joining me for my feng shui tips. All right, so today we're going to be talking about how to release. Release. When we think of that, we think, usually of clutter. And I've talked a lot in my past and my work about releasing clutter. And it's, honestly something that I have kind of somewhat prided myself into not really having an issue with. I'm pretty minimal. I've come to the place. At one point, I sold everything except for what would fit in my car. And so, in some ways, I have felt that I've been a little bit of exempt in this process, and that I'm here, to help others with it. And then this week, I saw this picture on Facebook of the sheep. I don't know if you guys have seen it. I don't know why the story has resurrected, because apparently the sheep passed in 2004 or something. But anyway, the story of the sheep that would hide in the cave every year when it came around for flocking. And so its entire adult life, or however long, it never got sheared. And I saw this picture, and I couldn't help but see myself in the sheep. It was a real eye opener for me, because as much as I have pared down on the physical level, releasing on the emotional, mental level has been a huge struggle for me. And I'm a Cancer sign, which is known to hold on to things and hold on to the past. And like I said, I thought I've always been exempt because I'm pretty minimal on the physical level, but not on the emotional, mental level. And so when we think about releasing, it's definitely on all levels, and we all struggle. Well, I won't say all. Some people may not have issues with releasing at all. It is part of my North Node, actually, is the path of release. So, and there's that saying, you teach what you most need to learn. So this video is as much for me as it is for you. So I want to give you, it's easier for me to see on the physical level because I can be more objective, because that's where I don't struggle. It's harder to see things internally, at least for me. But like I said, the sheep really gave me some insight. I looked up the symbol for wool, and it represents comfort and security and safety. And of course, this sheep, would hide in the cave, which is a whole, another metaphor of, not being seen, again, and to stay comfortable. And so, this is such a metaphor for all of us of, when we get stuck into our comforts, and how our comfort zone can really limit us from moving forward in life. And it can get to a point where our comfort level is no longer comfortable, and that's when we know we need to change. I see this a lot with clients with clutter, of where everyone has different levels or different desires of how much stuff they like to have around them, and that's good. But when you get to the point where the walls feel like they're coming in on you, where your life feels stagnant, that's when you need to do some releasing. And so, this comfort, this wool becomes a heavy weight. In fact, apparently when they sheared the wool, it was enough to make 20 men's suits. It was like 50 or 60 pounds of wool. So think about this sheep walking around with 50 pounds of excess weight. This is also analogous to people who have excess or holding excess weight themselves. It's out of comfort and security and safety. And, it gets to the point where it's too much of a load, to where the comfort is no longer comfortable. Even in this case, the sheep, it was impacting its health. It could hardly even see anymore because all the wool over its eyes, where you start to lose clarity. And the wool can be pulled over your eyes, and to where you don't have that internal guidance or structure within yourself. So there's lots of fallouts to holding on to too much. And so the step one for releasing is just having the awareness, knowing when enough is enough. When you having awareness of when you know you need to release, and is it on the physical level? Is it things? Is it clutter? Is it stuff in your house? Which of course are just usually manifestations of something deeper. Or is it something more internal? Is it emotions or thoughts that need to release? Because those can have just as much weight, and there's a payoff of the comfort in what you're getting out of that as well. So there's a comfort level of whatever emotions or thoughts that you're holding on to, preventing you from moving forward. These are some ways we end up sabotaging ourselves, keeping us in the comfortable place that we still are in. And so by changing thoughts, it puts us into a different space where we can move forward, and moving forward a lot of the time is very uncomfortable into the unknown. So there's always a payoff, but when that payoff is no longer paying off, that's when we know release is necessary. And by the way, so when I talk about release, it's almost synonymous with change, when we want to change, because in changing, inherently you have to release. It's just, you cannot make changes without releasing something. It's just impossible. This is a lot of times why we get boggled, is that a word? Boggled down. Because when we want to make changes, a lot of times we just add things to it, like Band-Aids, and add and add and add and add and add and add. And so over time, it becomes a bigger weight than even the initial issue. So releasing is always the first step to make changes. So I'm using those words, release and change, almost synonymously. So the first step, as I mentioned, is just having the awareness that you need to make a change, or you're having awareness that your load has gotten too heavy. And so again, this may be awareness you need to clear clutter, the awareness you need to lose weight, the awareness you need to drop a relationship, or just a thought system or belief, or thoughts or belief systems that are no longer serving you, to where they are weighing you down. So the awareness around that, and just kind of admitting that that there's a problem, is huge. And a lot of times, that might be enough to transform the issue. But usually not. If you've gotten to this point to where it's such a heavy weight, and again, looking at the sheep. And so step two, and this goes to step two, is asking for help if needed. And a lot of times it is. When we get so boggled down, that usually we're needing help of people to, cheer us a little bit. And because the weight's gotten too heavy to do it ourselves. And so really just acknowledging that it's okay to ask for help. If it's your home, it could be a professional organizer, it could be a friend, it could be a feng shui consultant, just some kind of assistance or help. Or it could be, Goodwill or Salvation Army to come by and pick up the stuff for you. Or it could be on any level, asking for help if the load is too heavy for you to release completely on your own, and to help you get some further perspective. Okay, so again, obviously the sheep needed help. I'm not sure about the sheep shearing process. I suppose it's always humans helping the sheep shear their wool. I'm not real sure. A lot of shoes in there. So step three, moving on to step three, is, what is the best process for you? Is it baby steps, or is it all at once? I couldn't help but sympathize with the sheep. So the after picture of the sheep with all of its wool shaved, I had a lot of sympathy for that sheep, and again, could see myself in that, and how sudden, how traumatic that must have been for that sheep to go from all of that to being so exposed, so vulnerable. If any of you have dogs, you might see this when your dog, when it comes back from the groomers and it's like shy, and feels so vulnerable and exposed. And this is how we are when we are releasing things. and knowing that it's okay. And so having, this is where the step 4, the compassion. Again, when I saw that sheep and saw myself in that sheep, the amount of compassion that I had for myself, for that sheep and therefore myself, was really powerful. I guess we could call this inner sheep work instead of inner child work. But it is the same thing. It's an animal, a sweet animal or a sweet child. And seeing yourself, or your inner child in that, or your inner sheep in that, and just having compassion for yourself and for the process and for the courage. I don't know how much choice the sheep had in the process, but my guess is it finally, in some way, if the law of attraction applies to sheep as well, which I assume it does, it found a way to finally expose itself out of the cave, to finally be sheared. And so I'm guessing that on some level it volunteered to be sheared, because it probably was facing like death because of the weight. And again, just the lack of quality of sheep life. So anyway, back to step 3. Sorry, I kind of skipped over step 3. It's baby steps, or are you an all at once type of person? And this goes to each person's personality. I'm definitely more of a baby step person. It has to come in layers, gentle layers. Sudden change is not good for me. And a lot of times, if it's not in alignment with how you process, then it can kind of put you back to square one because it's too sudden of a change. So in regards to clutter, in your house, using that as an example or a metaphor, working in baby steps, gradually over time, as opposed to just doing the overhaul on the whole house. But again, the overhaul on the whole house might be fit with someone who's a little more fiery, a little more of that extreme personality. So know yourself and know what process is best for you. And with regards to relationships, it might be a slow letting go as opposed to ripping the Band-Aid off kind of thing. So I hope this helps. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention is, so once you release, how do you prevent getting back, or in a new area of your life, getting back to this sheep that's where it's has minimized quality of life dramatically? How do you prevent getting to that point in the future? And so calling this prevention of needing to do such dramatic releasing. And I think this goes to being aware of your own patterns. And so noticing if you're falling into old patterns of holding on to things, clinging, clasping, and this could be regarding things and clutter. Notice your pattern in how you collect things or buy things. Set up a system that when you buy some new clothes, you get rid of some old clothes. Put systems into place. Notice your patterns of how you kind of start these patterns. Again, awareness is huge. So it kind of goes back to step 1 of the releasing process and having the awareness over it. But this time it's through awareness of your own patterns. And then again, step 2, for prevention, asking for help to kind of stay on that maintenance if needed. And then again, baby steps or all at once, depending on what your MO is. And then compassion, always having compassion for yourself. And if the baby step approach is what's best for you, being okay with that. It's okay if you don't want to shear your entire coat of wool all in one sitting. It can be done gradually. Okay. All right. So I hope this helps, and I hope this resonates with you. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon. Thanks.